afternoon. This is Tara Stark with Tara Stark Real Estate Group here in Weatherford, Texas, and we are sitting overlooking the square in downtown, and we are in what we are deeming right now the Stark Studios. And as my special guest today, I have Drew Myers from Defining Audacity.
Howdy, howdy.
Howdy.
I love the Stark Studio. It's really nice. I like how it's branded as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Super
Always.
awesome.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I have a couple of big announcements to make.
Okay.
This is the first button-up shirt that I've put on since the quarantine started, and I cleaned up my face.
Oh yeah,
To come see you today.
Thank
Yeah,
you. So yeah,
absolutely.
you've got a haircut, and most people aren't getting to get a haircut these days.
I do it myself. I've done it for myself for a long time, so that really didn't impact me. But I did clean up a little bit to come see you today because the world is kind of coming alive today.
Yes.
So
yes. Yeah.
it's good to see you.
It's good to see you. And around the square here today, the Weatherford Chamber got out and put ribbons on everything, blue ribbons. They just wanted to make it special. They know that we still have to honor the social distancing and the 25% capacity, but they wanted to make it feel special today. So we're excited.
Driving into Weatherford, like I do, I live in Rainbow, so come through Granbury and then into Weatherford. There were people on the road. People were out and about. They were jonesing to get out. So it's good to see somewhat normalcy happen.
Absolutely.
It's been a tough road. It really has.
Yeah.
You guys been doing all right though?
We've been doing good. You know, we've pivoted. We learned to do business a different way. I've learned a lot about technology and Zoom, which is something I have never used before. So it's learning to do listing appointments, buyer appointments via the virtual way, and so we get creative because people still need our help. And
I had some friends close on a house in Fort Worth, and the title company came out to their car. They had to be masked up. I mean, there's specific things that have to be done now, and it's probably going to be that way for a while.
I know, right? Yeah, drive-through. They're calling them drive-through closings, or
okay, nice.
Yeah, they're accepting e-signatures with cash deals, so they're figuring it out. So that's all we can do is pivot and go.
Absolutely, and that's something that I've said from the get-go is for us to be successful, we have to get creative. Instead of feeling sorry for ourselves or down in the mouth, we've got to get creative. If you think it's going to be the same, you are sadly mistaken.
Yeah,
very ignorant. So
absolutely.
I'm glad you guys are doing well.
We are. And so, as a lot of people knew, we were going to do what's called a party with a purpose next week. And we've had to, of course, postpone that. We will be doing it. We're looking at future dates, but Drew is going to be our guest speaker along with Josh Weathers as our entertainment. And we did this a couple of years ago after I'd met Drew at an event he put on in Glenrose, and brought him in, and he gave an amazing speech that night about living on purpose. And he had affected and impacted my life with that conversation, and a lot of people that night that will never forget that night that we had. So I wanted to bring him back in, have a little bit of conversation around living on purpose because of the effects of what we're going through these days. And so just anything you'd like to talk about and share with anyone, we'd love to hear it.
Well, let me say this first and foremost. Those events that you hosted, and the funny thing is I've done those for other people, but it was us sitting down and saying, hey, what can we do? You kind of helped start that. We call them inspirational notes, where I drop a little motivation on people, and then a singer-songwriter, Josh Weathers in your case, comes in and just knocks people in the face. And the first time we did it, the bar was here, and it was such an amazing night. A lot of emotion was in that night. So I appreciate the opportunity to come in and do it again. I hate that we have to push it back, but Josh is super excited about it. And that's what I love about it. Living on purpose, what does that mean? It means something different for everybody. What I've really wrapped my mind around recently is we have to embrace our story. For us to live a bold, adventurous, and intentional life, and for me, that is what living on purpose is you have to embrace your story. That's the good, that's the bad, that's the ugly, that's the past, present, and the future. We can tell our story the day long, but if we don't embrace our story, we're really missing out. So that's what we're really driving home on all of my podcasts and my speaking is story, because everybody has a story. You have a story, I have a story, and it's just really just wrapping our arms all the way around that, again, embracing it, so you can live on purpose.
Right, absolutely. I knew that Lauren, my daughter, and I talk all the time that we would not be here. I would not have met you. Our story has got us to where we are, and it's allowed us to meet the people that we've been able to meet and the impact that they have on our life. That is our story, and I love it, and I love embracing it. Last night we celebrated my mom's 74th
I saw that
birthday.
on social media. Happy birthday, Mom.
Thank you. Happy birthday, Mom, again. And so we surprised her. And the kids that live in and around here, I have 3 other siblings that live here, and we surprised her and all drove up in our vehicles honking down the streets. I think the people were coming out thinking, what is going on? And showed up and did our social distancing circle in the backyard, and were able to sit there with her. And I know it was, she's been home now for 2 months without going out, without seeing anyone. And because she's highly immune compromised, and but it was a very special day. We Zoom called in my other 2 brothers, and you see the differences in how it affects other people and what they're going through in their lives, whether it be our parents or our grandparents, and then those that are in positions to where they're dealing with companies and managers, and they are the managers, and the devastation they are going through in the decisions that are made that affect the people that they work for, and it's devastating to them in having to put off people and to lay off people. It's devastating for the people that are getting laid off, and they're losing their jobs in the businesses. But you see the effects through different people and through their eyes, and it was quite a special evening last night.
Well, that's awesome. And I hate this, but this COVID-19, this coronavirus is now all part of our story.
It is.
And that story is different for everybody. It's different for your mom than it is for somebody in their mid-30s that got laid off from their job and are trying to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
I have a buddy in Fort Worth, worked for a major nonprofit there. He was a development director, and they had to furlough him. And he was pushing carts at Costco. He wasn't making any excuses. And he said, I have to provide for my family. And he kept fighting his butt off, and I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I really admired that. And now that is part of his story.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that we've said out of the gate, I've said out of the gate, is we're going to get through this.
Yeah.
It may not be tomorrow or next week or even next month, but we will get through it. But we've got to remember that love wins.
Yes.
Putting a heavy emphasis on it. We have to be kind.
Yes.
We have to be understanding.
Yes.
Be patient with people.
Mm-hmm.
That's all encompassing, and we've got to keep fighting our butts off, like the example I just gave.
Yeah.
So I think that's awesome, and I want to touch on drive-by birthdays just real quick.
Sure, absolutely.
We've had several in Glenrose. My kiddos' friends have had birthdays, so we drive by, honk the horn, same thing. I endorse those, and I think that's how we should do birthdays from now on. Okay, they're short, they're sweet. We're home in 15 minutes or so. We don't have to sit around and make small talk with people that we don't really know. So I really like the drive-by birthday.
That's cool. I love it. That's awesome. Yeah.
What is? Do you have any other inspirational stories during all of this that you've kind of heard or seen? Because I love focusing on those.
I think the difference in how it's slowly affected people, just in my industry differently, is it's been a rolling cart. At first, it's like hurry, hurry, hurry. What do I have to do to finish out the business I do have going? And I just felt like I was running 1,000,000 miles an hour, hurry, hurry. And then as soon as the rush of taking care of and changing all of our marketing and changing how we did business, changing how we made sure that people could get their properties closed that were already under contract, it was a pause, and then it was like silence, and that felt strange. And then it's embracing. And I think a story that was shared by a client to me in an article was about grief. Okay. And that it had to do with that we're grieving what we had, what we've lost, life as it was. And I know I went through that right away. It was like, whoa, wait a minute. I finally got my horse. I'm finally getting to do this. I finally got here, or what I thought here was. And it's like, no, it's not supposed to be this way. I've worked my tail off all my life to get here. And you have to own the fact that it doesn't matter. You can either be powerful or pitiful, but you can't be both.
Right.
And it's step up and go back to work. And now how can I go help people? And how can I take care of people? How can I use my gifts and talents to go secure other people? So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
What I love is when we talked the other day and you said, hey, do you want to come up to Weatherford and do this? We were just talking, and I said, how's real estate going? You're like, really well. So you kind of had that silence, but it's kind of opened back up, and people have kind of leaned into the uncertainty, and now they're buying and selling property. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, and again, they figure out how to do it. We still have a life. We still want to live a life, and it's going ahead and making the decision. I'm going to live my life anyway. This isn't going away for the time being, and we're going to learn how to deal with it moving forward. So they're making decisions, figuring out how to make their decisions, and then we have others that are getting relocated to other parts of the country, and they don't have a choice. It's a job relocation that they're thankful and grateful for. In order to do it, they have to sell their home. How can we help them?
Sure.
And so fortunately, there are buyers still looking to move into our territory as well.
I think it comes down to not living in fear, but not being reckless. It's kind of this juggling act, this balance beam, if you will, of those two things. And I think if we can all navigate that, don't live in fear. Okay, let's be very transparent with people. When I walked in here today, I hugged your neck and I hugged Lauren's neck. I just did, okay? I felt comfortable enough. That's not reckless, but that's also not living in fear.
And we have our hand sanitizer all next to
That's right. I've got my mask. Can I show people my mask?
You can.
I put my sticker on it, Defining Audacity. I've worn this one time, and it was at a little music shop here in town, and they asked me if I would wear one, and I did. So.
Yeah, I've got them all out in the car. I've got my pump of hand sanitizer in the car, in and out, and we honor the system basically that we have in place that follow the guidelines and continue to do business and to connect with people. Just like you coming up here, I think this is timeless in that you talked to me before about our life list and our and our God whispers, our whisper moments, and I think this is a time when people are reflecting and looking at what's important in their life, and some are redefining it, and some are looking forward to a new normal that they're creating, and getting back to nature and getting back to things that they had forgotten that were really important to them.
Absolutely. Let me expand on that just real quick. She's talking about life is short whispers. That's what we call them. Those are those whispers that we get it from God. Depending on your faith, you may get it from other places, but it's just a reminder that life is short, life is precious, we need to act accordingly. Well, this coronavirus is not just a whisper, it is a punch to the groin. You know what I mean? For everyone, not just me, you, Lauren, the guy that just walked into the elevator, everyone is impacted by this, and it's just a reminder. And it's funny, because we do talk about life lists, and life lists are very similar to bucket lists. We just put an emphasis on the life, not the death, and it includes the little things in life. But it's, we say, write your goals, dreams, and aspirations down. What do you want to do? Whether it's get a horse, buy a house, start a radio show and podcast, whatever it is. But we're not in control of this thing. So you have to be a little bit flexible. I mean, because we are people of faith, God's in control of it. But I'm still a firm believer is you can have a vision, but be willing to adjust on the move.
Right.
And be open to other opportunities. Yeah. And this coronavirus has kind of reminded us.
Right, absolutely. Sure. Yeah, and you mentioned the horse, and so that was one of those things that I put on that list 2 years ago, and had made these steps in order to acquire a horse, and went through a long set of steps to get there, and then it's like, okay, I get to ride her 3 times. Wait a minute, this is not supposed to go this way. You adjust and you move forward, and I'm thankful I have her. If I had today to choose to go do that, I might not have done it. Right. And so now I'm thankful that she's here, and that I still get to go show and ride a horse. So,
What else was on your life list that you've done recently?
So a dinner party was on my life list.
I know, right?
Yeah, that was that was the emotional thing, I think, for me.
I remember that.
And so having a couple of actually out social distancing out in the back patio, quick little dinners, 6 and 7 people over, even a new grill cooking out. And
so you did that during all of this? That's awesome.
So they weren't necessarily like fantastically, fabulously, perfectly set up, but I've even taken 3-day vacations, not during this, but I have been. It made me look, it hit me so hard about realizing all I had been doing was working and working for the sake of working, for the sake of getting quote unquote there. And when I get there, I would never get there. And realizing to enjoy my life, And so last year was a year of planning Lauren's wedding and having her married, and that was a fabulous time and an accomplishment. And then again, it's like, okay, now what? And I'm always looking for something else, a purpose, a reason why, and that we get up and work every day. And I had not been giving back and pouring back into myself.
No, you hadn't. No, I know. I love coming into this office and barging into your office and sitting down and making you be still for 5, 10, 15 minutes and just talking about stuff other than real estate. Just, so what's going on? Make you talk about things that fire you up. Horses, or your mom, or Lauren, or whatever it is. And I think that's important. You may hate that like the first 2 minutes, but I think you finally kind of lean into it. You're like, he's not going to go away. So we've only got 13 more minutes. I'll humor him. So, but I love doing that because I think it's important to have those conversations.
And it causes you to pause. I know it did the last time. I had left your event and I went and sat home in the middle of the floor to write my list out, and there was nothing to write. There was nothing I desired to go do. And it was like I had quit using that muscle to go desire to go do anything else other than survive and provide a living. And
to get there. I love that you said that, to get there.
Yeah, wherever that is.
Wherever that is.
And so it's realizing it and honoring your friendships in the times that people matter, and that but if I don't take time to enjoy them, that what's the point?
What's the point? Exactly. Okay, so I know we're running short on time. I want to share this with you.
Okay.
I have a lot of catchphrases, if you will, things that I really try to drive home, and one of the ones that I'm really pushing now is make the important things important. And I want to tell you where that came from. Okay. I went to Big Bend National Park. This was August of last year, and I'd never been. It was on my life list, my first life list I ever made, and I just never did it. But I was very intentional about going down there. I went down there by myself, and then I came back to Marathon, Texas, which is just north of the park, for a songwriting festival, okay? So I go down there, I spend 2 days in the park, I camp out by myself, this solo adventure. It's incredible. I come back to the songwriting festival, and I'm talking to Walt Wilkins.
Oh my.
And I'm telling this story to Walt Wilkins, and he looks at me, and Walt and I have become friends. He said, I'm glad you did that because that's important. Okay, so it kind of planted that seed. A few weeks later, a young lady named Kylie Ray Harris, who had been on my show before, she made some bad decisions, and she was killed in an automobile accident. And all I could think about after she was killed, did she make the important things important? It wasn't about a life list. It wasn't about summiting Mount Everest. It wasn't about buying a horse. It wasn't about starting a podcast. Did the people in her life know how much she loved and cared about them?
Yeah.
So did Kylie Ray Harris make the important things important? So that statement from Walt Wilkins, that thought process after Kylie Ray was killed in that tragic car accident, and a 16-year-old girl was also killed in that tragic car accident, that's important for me to point out, was make the important things important. Yeah. And what I love about that, what's important to you is different than what's important to me. That's what's important to Lauren. We just have to figure that out and then make those things important.
Absolutely.
You like that?
I do.
I knew you would. I knew you would. Yeah. That's one of the drums that I'm banging right now. Make the important things important.
Yeah. Yeah. And going back to your list part, I did make the trip to the Gage Hotel.
I know.
With some girlfriends.
Oh yeah, Marathon. That's right. I remember.
So that was one of the things, but it made me slow down and stop and actually do it. And it was important not to get to go do it. It was important to honor a desire that was something I wanted to do, and to honor time with friends. It's all about the time and the influence. And if you don't make a difference in someone's life, to me, there's not a point. So
a trip like that, because I've had moments like that. It's not necessarily the Gage Hotel or camping with your son at Meridian State Park, because that was mine. It was giving all the excuses why you're not doing it the middle finger. You know what I mean? Because that's what's keeping us from doing it. Well, I can't go down there because what if my clients are looking for me? What if I what this, that, blah, 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 and it's all head trash. But just saying, nope, no more excuses. I'm going to Marathon, Texas. I love that. I remember when you marked that off. Yeah, that was cool.
That was really cool. So, you'll always be part of my story and my life. And so.
Well, because I never leave you alone. I always just barge in here from time to time. To the Stark Studios.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this. Thank you for having me. And And I'm sorry that we had to push back Party with a Purpose, but I'm
Yes.
excited about us doing it
Yeah.
down the road, and I guess people can.
And I think that, here's the thing. We've got some of Drew's t-shirts.
Some of my
His-
swag.
Yeah, some of his swag, his Live on Purpose t-shirts. And what I wanted to say, if anybody that's watching right now, and if you will send me a message in private messenger to the Tara Stark Real Estate Group or to Tara Stark in private message, the first two people to send me a message really quick that you would love one of Drew's t-shirts, we're going to get one for you. You may have to come here and pick it up and meet us, but we're going to do that. And we've got another thing coming up at the end of May, but can't wait to set the new date.
Yeah. Josh is still excited.
I love the whole crew of us, and what it all stands for, and it's the culture. And I think more than ever, it's going to be amazing. And the lives that you touch by your story and how you connect with people through the being on purpose and through making what it's important. You just have that way. So I appreciate you so much.
I appreciate you saying that, and you may not know this, but at your event, someone came up to me afterwards, and I reference this when I speak to groups now. And she comes up to me. Have I told you this story?
I don't know.
Okay. She comes up to me and she goes, "You didn't say anything I didn't already know." And I was like, "Oh," because I really don't. She goes, "But you said it in a way I heard it this time." She goes, "You have a gift of taking what's spinning around in our head and presenting it in a way that it makes sense and that it resonates." And that's all I want to do. I just want to celebrate the power of story, remind people that love wins, and inspire them to live on purpose.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
I love it. You're awesome.
Thanks, girl.
Thank you. Appreciate
Social
it.
distancing. I'll hug her when we get off.
Have a great day. Love
See
you
ya.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.